Hello, my name is Kathy from the Daily Marker. We're going to create these two cards in this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to make a bleed through from a coloring book page. The bleed through is on the right and you see the coloring on the left. And I want to show you how I created cards from this. This is the card from the coloring page and this is the card from the bleed through. It's a technique I came up with and it uses some simple supplies. This is a coloring book I had on hand, and what you want to do is you want to have a piece of cardstock. You want to slip it under the page that you're coloring. You want to figure out what part or if all of the page you want to color. I'm going to mask off with some Post-its the part that I don't want to color. That way I won't get confused. I've secured my paper down with some paper clips. I have this jumbo clip to hold my page wide open. It's from the Container Store. And then I'm using some Copic markers. I find that alcohol markers are nice and juicy and wet, and they bleed through these coloring book pages really nice, and that's what we want. Most coloring book pages are very thin, which is wonderful for this technique. So you'll see me just coloring. I'm not doing any shading, any blending. I'm just making sure that I saturate the color on each little space. So I'm just going to speed up this part. It's just very simple, basic coloring. I've tried this with Sharpie markers, and they're not that juicy. It doesn't work that well. It really works best with alcohol markers, and again, I'm using Copics. So just experiment with what you have and see how it works for you. Keep in mind that you can rip out your coloring page and then just paper clip it to some cardstock. You don't have to keep it in the coloring book. Most people are on the go when they're doing coloring, and it just seems to be the easiest thing. I came up with this technique when I was doing one of my 30-day coloring challenges, and it was very well received, and I was so excited that Splitcoaststampers wanted to share this technique. If you're saying, what is a 30-day coloring challenge? I have more information on my blog, thedailymarker.com, and my next 30-day coloring challenge is November 1st. It's for 30 days. It's for anybody and all different levels, and you can color anything from shoes to coloring books to cards. Now I'm going to take a peek. I wanted to take a peek and see how the bleed through is coming along, and I decided to add a dark color in the center where the coloring comes together. Well, you can see where I'm coloring right here, and I'm trying to add a concentrated dose of that because there was a blank space when I peeked at the coloring, and I just wanted to add a little bit of something in that blank area. So we'll see how that looks, and it's very subtle, so I'm going to add a little bit more there so it bleeds through, and then here's the final product. Now I'm going to rip out my page, and we're going to make two quick cards with the bleed through and the coloring page. Now I like to cut these out just in a fun, different way to create a pattern with the coloring. If you have flowers, you can follow the lines of the flower. If it's geometrics, you can do this. But just think out of the box. It makes the card a little bit more interesting, especially since it's mostly a one-layer card, except for the sentiment. Now, I colored outside the lines because I wasn't sure how I was going to trim it up, and this is what I ended up doing. I always like to take a memento marker and finish off my ends with this black marker. I could use a Copic marker, but I like this because it doesn't bleed into my project. And a lot of people, when they color with Copics, they use the memento ink, and this is the memento marker, and it works beautiful. Now, if you know me, I love to add white dots, and you'll look at my finger, and I always warm up my gel pen on my finger. I really feel like it just gets the ink going. My motto when using a white gel pen is to go slow. So I'm just adding a line to each design here with my white gel pen. I don't know, I just have to add a little white on most everything. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just adding a white line on the same area on this whole little page here. Then I'll be taking a Sharpie fine tip marker and I'll be going on top of this. Well, you'll see, but I'm going to put the tip of my Sharpie tip marker up against this white line. So if I didn't do a good job with the white line, if it's not straight, the Sharpie will fix that. Sorry you can't see it very well, but it makes the line look nice and tidy. Now the white gel pen, you want to give it time to dry, and then you can go over top the white gel pen to make that line look nicer. Of course, you don't have to do that. It's just a detail that I like to add, but you might like it just without the black accents. And then I do like to go over, I'm a doodler, so I like to fuss with things. So I like to take my Sharpie fine tip marker and just go over the lines to darken them as well. But that's because I'm a doodler and it's certainly not necessary. So you see me doing that here, and then again I go butt up against that white line. And if you can zoom in, I'll also have all the details on my blog. If you zoom in, you can see how the Sharpie marker kind of fine-tunes that white line. So see what you think. But again, it's not necessary. And you don't even have to add any white dots. I actually added, speaking of dots, I added some white dots underneath my lines. And I like to give the white gel pen time to pool. So I put the marker down, I let it pool, and then I make my dot. Now I have trimmed white cardstock. I don't know, I'm sorry I missed that, but this is exactly what I did, what I'm doing with the green. I traced the line of the cutting of the coloring book page, and then I just trimmed it like this. So I did this with the white cardstock underneath the coloring page, and then I wanted another hint of color. So I'm using this green, and then you just use an eraser, any eraser you have on hand. Now, my glue of choice is Glossy Accents. I use it for everything. I know some people don't like to do it, but it's what I do. It holds it forever. So I just add a little bit along the edge and I'm done, and it dries nice and quick. So I stick that under a book or something, make it flat, and I'm moving on to the bleed through. Need to come up with a better name for that. So I'm just adding some blue cardstock to the bleed through, and I've die cut some of these smile dies from Simon Says Stamp. I have black foam and green foam, and I'm gluing two of the black foams together to make it nice and thick, and then I'm putting white on top of that. You'll see some sentiments. I was going to add some label sentiments to the cards, but I decided I wanted to pop this smile die. So for the coloring book page, I decided I wanted something bold behind the smile. So I'm using two of the colors that I colored the page with, and I just want to make a background to make the smile pop even more, and it stands out more on the coloring. So I'm just bringing those two colors together. Very simple. The smile covers a lot of it, so you're just creating a quick background. Trust me, this is super easy. And then I'm going to glue the smile on top of that. But I'm a futzer, so this is what I do. And that's why I love to color. So there, I'm happy with that. I'm going to glue that down, and then I'll just add that to my card. I've just behind each panel is just some white cardstock and then the black cardstock in the middle. Now I noticed I needed the dot to my eye, so I used a paper piercer to mark that, and then I put some glossy accents on that, and I had a stray piece of white from this leaf and I just poked it down in that, if that makes sense. I was too lazy to die cut the smile again to get the dot from the smile die. I like to use a block to push down to glue that nice and smoothly. Now I'm moving on to the background for the smile die cut for my bleed through card, and I'm just putting a layer of one of the colors I used on my coloring page, and I'm not even listing the colors because you use what you have on hand. And since the bleed through is kind of muted, I'm taking a rag with some various ink and I'm just fluffing up the nib, and I'm adding texture. The rag adds texture when you use the various ink. The various ink is a solution by the Copic marker, and what it does, it removes the color. So when you put it on the cloth and you blot it off, it removes some of the color and it gives you beautiful texture. You can see it there behind the smile. It was just what I wanted. So this is how my 2 cards turned out. Very simple, really fun. I hope you try this technique. I really hope you enjoy it. Enjoy your coloring, and I'd love for you to visit my YouTube channel, thedailymarker.com, and have a great day. Thank you so much to Split Coast Stampers for letting me guest with them today.